Yo, hoop fans! Your sideline sage, Tips and Upstreams, is lacing up once again. On deck, deep dives into the freshest NBA clashes, ready to set the planks ablaze. But before we jump the ball, be sure to hammer that subscribe on our YouTube channel to keep hooked with our sharp forecasts and prime selections. Alright, let's bounce into today's NBA Crystal Ball reads. Today's prediction is for the matchup between Philadelphia 76ers and Brooklyn Nets. The Philly 76ers are storming the court against the Brooklyn Nets, packing a dynamic 1-2 punch of scoring might and defensive toughness. Spearheaded by Joel Embiid's standout play, they're dropping an average of 120 points per game, a testament to their offensive juggernaut status. Their sharpshooting prowess is next level, both from downtown and at the charity stripe, where they're topping the NBA charts. On the D side, the 76ers are a force to be reckoned with, swatting shots and swiping steals like it's nobody's business. This defensive clout, meshed seamlessly with their scoring clinic, sets them apart in the league. Plus, their ability to dominate the glass adds serious depth to their already stacked skill set. Flipping the script, the Brooklyn Nets are in a bit of a bind. Sure, they've got game from beyond the arc and can hold their own on the boards, but they're hit with some defensive gaps and grappling with key players riding the pine due to injuries. These snags could really throw a wrench in their works, especially up against a well-oiled squad like the 76ers. History is in the Sixers' favor too, as they've traditionally had the Nets' number, a factor that might mess with Brooklyn's headspace in this showdown. Philly's current hot streak, combined with their track record of outplaying Brooklyn, slots them as the top dogs in this face-off. Weighing in the 76ers' dual threat in offense and defense, their recent form, and the Nets' hiccups, all signs point to Philly clinching this one. The Sixers aren't just expected to snatch the W, they're also tipped to beat the spread thanks to their all-around superior team vibe and the Nets' current rough patch. Roll with the Philadelphia 76ers -4. The next prediction is for the match between Detroit Pistons and Toronto Raptors. In the realm of NBA thrills and spills, we're gearing up for a sizzling showdown at Scotiabank Arena. The Detroit Pistons, dragging a heavy 2-11 ball and chain, are about to square off with the Toronto Raptors, who are still trying to hit their stride at 5-7. Detroit's been caught in a whirlwind of losses, a hefty 10-game skid. Fresh off a tough beat from Cleveland, it's been a rough ride on both ends of the hardwood. The Raptors, though not exactly lighting it up, are holding down the fort with a steadier hand, both on the offensive drive and in locking down their turf. The Pistons, dropping about 109.8 points a game, just can't seem to patch up their defensive cracks, letting opponents rack up north of 117 points in their last few face-offs. The Raptors, a tad less flashy on the score sheet with 108.3 points per game, are banking on a sturdier defense, only giving up about 110.7 points. Historically, Detroit's had the edge over Toronto 6-4 in their last 10 matchups, and they usually bring their A game to the 6-6, but times are changing. They're rolling into Raptor territory, missing their heavy hitters like Jalen Duren, Bojan Bogdanovic, Isaiah Livers, Monty Morris, and Joe Harris. That's no small gap for a squad still finding its feet. Plus, the absence of Coach Dwayne Casey, who always had that extra zest against the Raptors, is going to hit hard. Without him, Detroit's facing an uphill battle, especially since Toronto's been owning their court lately, boasting a clean 3-0 slate against the Pistons. Breaking it down, it's looking like the Raptors are set to cash in on home court vibes and Detroit's defensive hiccups. Toronto's steady D, mixed with the Pistons' current slump, tilts the odds in favor of the Raptors. So, the B is on Toronto, not just snagging the victory but also beating the spread, leaning on their defensive solidity and pouncing on Detroit's weak spots. I'll take the Toronto Raptors to win and cover the spread. The next prediction is for the match between Orlando Magic and Indiana Pacers. The Orlando Magic, rocking a solid 7-5, are balling with equilibrium this season. They're dropping an average of 107.8 points per game, shooting at a cool 45%, while their D lets through 105.8 points on a 46.5% clip. Ballers like Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero are key playmakers, racking up points and snagging boards. The Magic have been schooling Central Division rivals, beating the spread in 7 of their last 8 road showdowns against the Pacers. Plus, they've recently schooled the Bulls twice, showing they're not just here to play, they're here to dominate. The Pacers, holding a 7-4 record, have been tearing it up with victories in 5 of their last 7, including a major upset over the 76ers. They're torching the net with 126.5 points per game on 50% shooting, boasting one of the league's slickest offenses. Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner are the squad's heavy hitters, dominating in threes 38.6% and free throws 80.1%. But their D is leaking points, giving up 123.4 per game, one of the league's leakiest. The Pacers show a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde act, losing 5 of their last 6 as the top dogs after shining as underdogs. Head-to-head, the Pacers outpace the Magic in scoring, field goal, free throw, and three-point percentages. At their crib, the Pacers' offense is fire, outscoring and outshooting the Magic's road game. But the Magic are bosses on the boards, a factor that might tilt the game. Historically, the underdogs often beat the spread in this matchup, hinting at a tight battle. Weighing both teams' recent form and stats, the Pacers, with their home court firepower, seem to have the edge. But don't sleep on the Magic's grit as underdogs and their knack for beating the spread on Pacers turf. Expect a scoreboard blast, with the Pacers likely edging out, but expect the Magic to keep it tight. I'm banking on the Pacers' offensive heat and home court advantage to cover a minus 4.5 spread. The next prediction is for the match between Denver Nuggets and Cleveland Cavaliers. The Nuggets, bouncing back from a tough road beat by the Pelicans, are the court kings of scoring, dropping an average of 114.1 points per matchup. Their scoring spree comes from top-tier field goal accuracy and ruling the paint. On the flip side, Denver's D-game is tight, ranked 6th in the league, holding teams to just 107 points and shutting down shooters and snagging defensive boards like pros. But it's key to highlight their road game struggles this season. Switching gears to the Cavaliers, fresh off a victory over the Pistons, they've been fumbling on the offensive front. They're netting 110.3 points per game, but their shooting game's only 20th in the league, and they're struggling to grab offensive rebounds, ranked 19th. Their main man, Donovan Mitchell, with a sweet 29.2 points per game, is sitting out, which might knock their scoring down a notch. Yet, Cleveland's D is solid, keeping opponents at 111.2 points and stepping up in shooting defense and guarding the 2-point zone. Digging into the history books, the Nuggets have a slight upper hand over the Cavs, leading 6-4 in their last 10 faceoffs. Denver's shooting 50.46% from the field, a step ahead of Cleveland's 46.20%. On the boards, it's nearly a draw, but Denver edges out in defensive rebounds. Recent clashes in Cleveland paint a tighter picture, with Denver up 2-1 in their last 3 showdowns. Their superior shooting and rebounding could slam the door on this match, so the smart bet is on the Denver Nuggets. Their sharp shooting, solid D on the glass, and paint dominance could outplay the Cavs, who are not only struggling to score, but also missing their key scorer, Donovan Mitchell. Despite the Nuggets' hiccups on the road, their overall game and track record against Cleveland tip the scales in their favor. My call, Denver Nuggets to beat a minus 2.5 point spread. The next prediction is for the match between Sacramento Kings and Dallas Mavericks. Tonight's big NBA face-off takes us to the hardwood of the American Airlines Center, where the Sacramento Kings, hot on a 5-game hot streak, are set to duke it out with the Dallas Mavericks. The Kings, boasting a solid 7-4 record, are looking like serious ballers, thanks largely to De'Aaron Fox dropping a sizzling 32.2 points per game. These guys are tearing it up on offense, sitting pretty at 8th in the league, and their 3-point game, straight fire. But let's not sugarcoat it, their D-gam's got some holes, giving up 114.15 points on the reg. The Mavericks, leading the pack in the Southwestern Division with a 9-4 record, are hitting their home court after splitting a 2-2 road stint. Sure, they took a hit against the Milwaukee Bucks, but don't sleep on Dallas's offense. They're raining down points, averaging a hefty 123.5 per game. That's second best in the league. Their 3-pointers, They're not just dropping them, they're leading the league in both shots made and a killer 39.0% accuracy. Defense, though, remains their Achilles heel, with a concerning 119.7 points allowed per game and some shaky rebounding stats. Looking at the history books, the Mavericks have been the big dogs in this matchup, taking 5 of their last 7 games against the Kings. When playing in their own den, Dallas has been unbeatable against Sacramento, owning the last 3 home games. This season, their home record's strong too, standing at 4-1. Weighing up both teams' recent form and past clashes, the smart money's leaning towards the Mavericks. Despite the Kings' current role, they've had a rough go at the American Airlines Center, dropping 15 of their last 16 there after a win. The Mavericks, on the other hand, have been clutch when they're the favorites, winning 8 of their 10 games in those situations this season. For the betting crowd, here's the deal. The Mavericks are pegged as the favorites and are likely to cover the spread. Given both teams' scoring prowess and defensive gaps, a high total score seems a good bet. But crunch the numbers, and you might want to take the under on a 246.5 point total. Both teams generally score below that. In summary, while the Kings are no pushovers and are on a roll, the Mavericks' offensive firepower and home turf advantage, plus the Kings' struggle history in Dallas, tip the scales in favor of the Mavericks. I'm calling it Dallas Mavericks for the win and to cover a -1 spread. The next prediction is for the match between Boston Celtics and Memphis Grizzlies. The Boston Celtics are set to face off against the Memphis Grizzlies. The Celtics have been in red-hot form, winning 10 of their 12 games overall. On the other hand, the Grizzlies have won 2 of their past 3 games and are looking to build momentum after a 120-108 road win against the Spurs. The Celtics have been displaying a steady performance this season. They possess a field goal percentage of 46.3%, ranking them among the league's top offensive teams. However, their defensive rebounding stats have room for improvement, especially on the road, where they allow opponents to grab too many offensive boards. On the other side of the court, the Memphis Grizzlies are known for their gritty style of play. Their field goal percentage stands at 44.7%, which is slightly lower than the Celtics, but they make up for it with their tenacity on the boards. The Grizzlies excel in defensive rebounding, which could be a game changer in this matchup. Historically, the Celtics have had the upper hand in head-to-head matchups, with 35 victories over the Grizzlies' 19 in their 54 regular season games. However, recent performance at the FedEx Forum has seen 7 of the last 8 games between the Celtics and Grizzlies go over the total points line. The Celtics have covered the spread in 11 of their last 12 games when playing with a rest advantage. The Grizzlies, on the other hand, have lost each of their last 8 games following a win and have failed to cover the spread in each of their last 9 games following a win. Considering the Celtics' current form, their head-to-head advantage, and the Grizzlies' struggles following a win, it seems likely that the Celtics will come out on top in this matchup. However, the recent trend of high-scoring games between these two teams at the FedEx Forum suggests that the total points line could go over. Therefore, I will take the Boston Celtics to win and over 222 total points line. The next prediction is for the match between Phoenix Suns and Utah Jazz. The Phoenix Suns are gearing up to bring the heat on the road, squaring off against the Utah Jazz. It's a showdown where both squads roll in with some decent momentum. With a scoreboard reading 6-6, the Suns are all about stretching their win streak, especially riding high from a nail-biter of a win, 31-128 against the Jazz a mere 48 hours earlier. Kevin Durant's on-court magic, racking up 38 points, coupled with Devin Booker's comeback, has been a game changer for the Suns. They've been crushing it in away games, notching up 13 straight wins as the crowd's favorites. Yet, it's worth noting their recent trend of smashing the over on the total points as the top picks. On the flip side, the Jazz, holding a 4-8 tally, are hitting a snag on defense, a problem intensified by Walker Kessler being sidelined. Their previous face-off with the Suns put the spotlight on this weakness, with the Suns firing over 50% from the field. Utah's shining stars, Jordan Clarkson and Lauri Markkanen, can't seem to offset the team's overall defensive hiccups. Although they often struggle against Pacific Division rivals, they've shown some grit in covering the spread in recent home face-offs with Western Conference teams. The Suns' 10th spot in scoring offense, averaging a hefty 115.2 points per game, and their sharp shooting from downtown, ranking 3rd in the league, are their aces up the sleeve. The Jazz, even with their 9th spot in offense, are being dragged down by a 26th rank in defense, giving away an average of 120.5 points per game. This defensive gap might just be the game changer here. Given the lay of the land, the Suns are shaping up to be the front runners in this rematch. Their offensive firepower, spearheaded by Durant and Booker, is set to capitalize on the Jazz's defensive slip-ups. The Suns' solid track record in away games and their recent dominance over the Jazz seem to skew the odds in their favor. Meanwhile, Utah's quest for a defensive turnaround and their knack for dropping the ball in crunch time make this a steep climb for them. Wrapping up, I'm banking on the Phoenix Suns to clinch the win. Their offensive steadiness and the Jazz's defensive fumbles, particularly without key players like Kessler, hint at a Suns triumph. I'm placing my chips on the Suns to clear a minus 5.5 point spread. The next prediction is for the match between Oklahoma City Thunder and Portland Trail Blazers. The Oklahoma City Thunder slam dunking their way to 4th in the Western Conference with an 8-4 scoreboard are ballin' with high energy. They've been dropping buckets with finesse, especially after lighting up their home court with a 128-109 win. Their shooting game's on fire, nailing 50.6% from the field and an eye-popping 59.4% from downtown. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the squad's dynamo, is expected to steer the ship, already racking up 24 points in the latest showdown. On the flip side, the Portland Trail Blazers are caught in a rough patch, hitting a 6-game skid and languishing at 14th in the West. Their offense is stumbling, bottoming out in the NBA with a mere 103.9 points per game. Despite a tougher defensive game, ranking 11th, their erratic offense, especially their three-point drought, where they're at the league cellar with 30.8%, is raising alarms. Oklahoma City's leading the charge with a sharp 39.5% in three-pointers, a stark contrast to Portland's 30.8%. This gap might be the game changer. Both teams have their defensive A-game, but the Trailblazers' scoring drought might tip the scales. The Thunder's hot streak versus Portland's slump signals an edge for Oklahoma City. Looking back at the last 10 face-offs, Thunder's got the upper hand with an 8-2 record against the Trailblazers, a mental edge they might capitalize on in the next game. Betting-wise, the smart money is on Oklahoma City Thunder. Their current form, historical dominance, and sharp shooting, especially from deep, make them the favored squad. Yet, they're coming off a back-to-back against the Golden State Warriors, a factor that might weigh on their performance and game tempo. My take: Thunder clinches it, but I'm betting on the total points staying under 227. The last prediction for today is for the match between Houston Rockets and Los Angeles Lakers. Tonight's showdown on the hardwood at thecrypto.com. Arena is more than just a game. It's a basketball saga in the making. We've got the Houston Rockets sitting at 6-4, fresh off a heartbreaker against the Clippers. They've been balling hard, with Alperen Sengun and Jalen Green turning up the heat. These guys were instrumental in their 6-banger winning run before hitting a snag with the Clippers. But watch out, the Rockets often find themselves in a jam in away games against big-time winners, and they're notorious for pushing the score past the line, especially when bouncing back against the Lakers. Now, the Lakers, with a 7-6 tally, are cruising in high gear, nailing 4 out of their last 5. Their latest hustle over the Trail Blazers was a slam dunk show of their might. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they're the frontline warriors. The Lakers are beasts in their den against the Southwest Division, and they've got a knack for beating the spread in these face-offs. What's interesting is how their home plays against teams. On a back-to-back opener, usually see the scores dipping below the line. Digging into the stats, the Lakers are edging out with better shots and rebounds, crucial plays that tip the scales. They've got the home court and are riding a wave of wins, giving them a slight edge over the Rockets' solid game. In their past face-offs, the Lakers are leading 7-3 against the Rockets in their last 10, but the Rockets ain't backing down, nearly clinching a win against The Clippers shows their mettle. It's a tight match, with the Rockets' game face against top dogs and the Lakers' home court prowess. Yet, the Lakers' shooting game and recent form might just sway the win their way. Wrapping it up, the Rockets have the guts in the game, but the Lakers' home turf and winning streak might just crown them the kings tonight. But hey, that's just my 2 cents. I'm not sold on Darvin Ham's coaching chops, but Ime Udoka, that's a game changer. His playbook might just be the X factor for the Rockets. I'm betting the Rockets will hang tough and beat the spread +6. All right, basketball fans, that's the final horn for today's forecasts. A huge thank you for joining our team. If you're in tune with our selections, hit that subscribe button and become part of our squad. See you on the hardwood tomorrow. Farewell.